everyone, it's Renee with Delaney Jane Cards and welcome back to my channel. For a few months now I've been receiving the Scrapping for Less monthly kit. It comes in two different options. I think it's the the Sunday and the banana split level or something like that. Anyway, it's a kit that has 4 small little card kits in it, and then the banana split or whatever the extras is a little tiny package of extras. So here I just wanted to show you what came in the kit. There was the cardstock, and then this is one of the card kits. It's got some pad of paper, envelope, stamp set, a super cute stamp set, embossing folder, these wooden embellishments, and an envelope. This is the second one. Oh, and they always have these cute sequin mixes. Like, they're absolutely known for their sequin mixes. But these kits kind of push me outside my box, makes me use embellishments I normally don't reach for, and that's huge for my creativity. So these papers here, the ones that are kind of shiny, those are all Scrapping for Less papers. They've been making them in-house, and that's super cool. This is a Scrapping for Less stamp set, but it's actually designed by Pink and Maine, and I think it's probably my favorite of this whole summer camp set. So here's the third kit. It had those leaves and some sequins and some jewels, and then again some Scrapping for Less papers, and they're all double-sided, so you get to pick and choose. And this one has those little cut aparts, and then this cute stamp set, which is by Scrapping for Less. I thought it would be really neat for back to school cards too. This kit actually created, I think, my favorite cards altogether, but it was super fun. It had sequins and those gems and these epoxy stickers. I'm not a super huge fan of stickers, but I'll see what I can do with them. And then the Sunny Studio stamp set, and these outer space and kind of blue, black, and white printed papers. And then this is that extras pack that I was talking about. It's like a banana split level, and everybody got a glaze pen. I think they were all different colors. Mine was purple. And then I got this little bag. I did not use that in my cards, but I'm sure I'll use it in the future. Then this Explore die, which I did end up using. And this cute little stamp set here. It has a sign and like a rolled up sleeping bag and a compass and some sentiments. So I'm going to jump right into my cards here. I made 3 cards with 3 of the kits, 2 cards with 1 kit, and then 1 card with the extras. So this cute little stamp set here with the bears, I did use my colored pencils on all of these ones, so I did not leave all the colored pencil coloring in. It just kind of got redundant, so I figured if you see me color this bear once, that was enough. So here I zoomed in for the coloring, and I just did some simple pencil coloring here. I don't even think I left all the coloring in. I think I just some of it. But I just chose some brown shades, darker on the edges and lighter in the middle. I am still learning in my colored pencils. There are some amazing colorists on YouTube. I would definitely recommend searching for some colored pencil colorists if you are interested in learning how to color with them. I do like how they look on craft paper though. Just the colors are beautiful on craft. Even this, like, basically tone on tone, brown on brown. And then I did kind of put in a little bit of ground and a little bit of sky, just so he wasn't just floating out in the middle of a brown tag. And here, putting the card together, you can see I die cut my tag and my banner for my sentiment out of the back piece, which saved me some paper. I chose that yellow and orange plaid, which is also on the back of that flashlight paper, which is kind of interesting. But I popped that panel up, and I was going to use them 2 little pieces, and I decided I would use them later for something else. And that wood grain is kind of a pocket, so I did slip my tag in there, and Are you like that? Do you like put your card together and then add the next piece and then put your card together again and add the next piece? Because I seem to do that. I did use the twine that came in the kit, and I am not normally a twine person. I just find it bulky on my cards, and I have a hard time incorporating it and seeing where the tails should lay and all that stuff. It's hard for me to decide what to do with it, so I just usually choose not to. But here I stamping my sentiment. I stamped it off first because it's the first time I've used that stamp, and I wanted to make sure I got a good impression. And then I folded this up. This little banner and the tag, I think the tag too, are from the Mama Elephant basic die set. I think you can buy the little banner separately because I'm pretty sure I did, and then I bought the banner die or the basic die set and ended up with 2 banner dies. So then I realized I hadn't glued down my tag. I had just stuck it in that pocket, and I glued it down and added some black glaze pen to the nose of my bear. Later on, I do go and add a white shine mark after that glaze pen has dried. Now this is my second card here. I did stamp directly on one of these tags because it was craft. And I used the ink on 3 blackout ink. I used that through the whole process video. I do like that ink. It's kind of universal. It is really black. For my sentiments, I usually do use the VersaFine Onyx Black though. So I colored my bear off screen, and then here I cut a banner end into that paper, and I was going to use that little banner die that was also from the Mama Elephant basic die set. In the end, I ended up using more of that twine, and then I felt like I was winning because I think I used it up with this card, and that never happens. So I just layered everything up. I also normally use black for my cardstock layers, and I decided to really use the colors that came in the card kit, and it did work well. They do coordinate nicely every month. I just kind of hoard them and use black, which is unnecessary. I have enough things. I don't need to hoard more things. So here you see me tying that twine on the tag. I end up cutting that and tying it differently later. I did pop this up, this banner, and made sure I went around that twine so it didn't leave a bulge. And that's where I got frustrated. It wasn't what I wanted. I like tied it and then untwisted the ends a little bit. And then I did put a piece of foam tape on the tag where it was going to be next to the banner, and then liquid adhesive over the banner. And then I brought my trimmer in and trimmed off my sentiment. And I did add a little banner end to that too, so it matched. I just cut that with my scissors. And I adhered that down. Now this is a little trick here too, because there is them layers. The Christmas or the pine tree paper, and then its mat is thick. So if I just laid that across, there'd have been a bump. So I put a couple pieces of cardstock there to make up the difference. So here's the third card, and I did use this layout twice in these 12 cards. So I cut that banner end. The original design, that banner was supposed to hang down in front, but in the end I didn't do that because it would have cut off my scene. And if you hear baby noises, it's because baby Adelaide is sitting on my lap while I'm doing my voiceover. She is 3 months old and definitely in need of parental supervision, and right now I'm the only parent available. So here I was just stamping my images. I made a little scene, and I did show some of the coloring here, not all of it, but some. I wanted to specifically show how I colored the bear because he is next to this campfire, and campfire casts like yellow glow, at least in my mind. On a cartoon bear, it would cast a yellow glow. So you see there where I have the highlight of the bear facing the fire, and it's got a yellow glow on it. I do the same with the firewood, so the top that's like exposed to the flame is yellow. I did the same with the marshmallow, and made sure I put that yellow highlight in there. Add more yellow because yellow makes it look like it's shiny from the fire, I guess. I was happy with it. I did add some white gel pen and then some black glaze pen to the nose. Glaze pen is like a black gel pen, but it adds a little bit of dimension and a lot of shine and depth. So here I was putting my card together. I wanted the green and the wood grain paper to be kind of offset. And I put glue all over the thing and then got it all over my mat. That's why I realized that if I put that there, I was going to cover up my little bear, and I worked so hard to color him. So I didn't want to do that. So I just cut that banner in half, flipped the other side over, and cut another banner edge so that it had two little coordinating banners down at the bottom. Decided that was going to be good. I kind of offset the way that that square was off to the one side and the banners were off to the other. And I just adhered that flat down to my background. Added some liquid adhesive and placed that piece inside. And that finished that card. Oh, I did add a little bit of sparkle to the moon and I think the fire and the stars maybe. Oh, and all the shine on the bear, because that would also be shiny, I guess. So this is the next set of cards. I did this stamping of this first one a little weird. I guess I hadn't thought it all through. I could have put all the stamps on there and then just restamped the one a second time, but I didn't. I left everything on and put them all on one by one and then took that off and stamped it with a little black. Sometimes I don't think everything through. I try. And then I did create two little scenes with this stamp set. This is like the squirrel. They're squirrels or ground squirrels or some kind of little woodland creature. They're adorable. But here I put the fishing pole on, and then off screen I cut the little fishing pole reel handle thing out of a piece of post-it note, just so I could put it in his hand a little bit better. So here on this one, I was stamping my scene using that little fire again. In building these scenes, I kind of did like one little group of stamps at a time instead of everything at once, unlike that one that I did with the scene in the last one where I stamped them all at the same time. This one I was a little more, I don't know, hesitant to stamp everything, I guess. These trees that came in this kit, or this stamp set, I think are my favorite stamp of all these stamps. This tiny little 2-tree stamp here, because it builds the perfect scene. Little silhouetted pine trees. I mean, you could put them on any scene. I was a little sad that I had stamped my sentiment already, because I could have put my tree line all the way across, but I didn't. And then I had these little stars, and I stamped them to fill up the sky. That was my little scene. And these I colored with my Copic markers. Do you do this too? Do you put all your stamps back, or do you like shove them on the side and wait till you're done? Because I do both. Oh, and here I was trying to figure out what else to put with this little squirrel, and I of course decided on the perfect little trees. So I did stamp those a few times there. They just made the scene come right to life. And in my Misty, I could just slide my paper. I didn't have to move the stamp, which was really nice. So I showed this scene with my Copic markers. I just kind of used my lightest to go around all of the shapes and then built up from my darkest to my lightest again. Around the moon and the stars, it would be lighter because the light of the moon and the stars. And then here with the greens, I chose greens that were really far apart. This YG 99 and 97, I think it's this more olivey color. They have more brown in them. And I got some on my mat and I was mad, so I cleaned that up right away. Anyway, then I used this YG 63 and 67, and they're more of a yellowy green. So together they make kind of the perfect grass at night around a campfire color in my mind. The fire would cast a glow and make the grass look lighter, and then as you go back toward the trees, it would become more earthy and more brown, and that khaki color or like army green color worked really well for that. So I colored my campfire the same way I had done with my colored pencils, where I put yellow in. I did it on the top of the rocks. I also did it on the edge of the hot dog, and I was just doing all my yellow coloring. And then I broke out I think it's the E70s for my little chipmunk, squirrel, whatever he is, brown critter. They're more gray brown, and I like that, just like I like using my warm grays for animals. I like using my E70s for critters. Just kind of a nice gray tone. And then I did add some yellow where the fire would reflect on his face and feet and stuff for a little realism in my little cartoon scene. And then I decided that I wanted to stamp these little acorns on this strip of craft cardstock I was using on that first card. I stamped. That was some little chalk ink that I had in my stash. So here I was just layering up the pieces. I love these plaids that came in here. They are beautiful. When I first got them, I wasn't sure, but I ended up really liking them. And I made sure I put that little strip on before I adhered this to my dark brown cardstock, because I wanted to make sure I could trim it off at the right length. And then I just added this panel. And then I did color these acorns. At first I just colored parts of them. Later on I did go back and colored the rest of the acorn in. So this one, you can see I cut that circle out of the orange cardstock. I used that to frame my main image. Just saves on cardstock. A little bit of liquid adhesive and all of my pieces here. Added some foam tape to pop up this image, this little scene. And I did use a little bit of liquid glue on my foam tape just in case I hadn't stuck it down well. And there's where I think the sentiment wasn't as legible as I wanted it to be, so I just used my colorless blender to kind of push the color into the paper there a little bit. So this frame is from that one card where the other card that looks like the same layout here is just the frame from that square. And I just cut it out again with white so I could do this Copic coloring here. And I didn't like the way that orange banner looked, so I recut it. Sometimes I get them good, sometimes I don't. And then you can really tell, and I'm not a fan of that. So I adhered my patterns onto the orange cardstock, and then I decided here to pop this up. I did avoid the banners with the foam tape. It would have made it higher, like 2 layers higher, so I chose to just skip over that. So jumping into the next set of cards, I laid them out. And then I put each card together in order. So this first card, you can see I did adhere those 3 panels together beforehand, and that's just because I couldn't get the measurements right, and once I did, I wanted to stick them together. So I did leave the coloring in for this camper. I chose to color this one shades of blue. The other 2 that I colored were shades of gray, so they look like metal. My camera was wandering. I think the washer was spinning and it makes my camera move. I do catch it and fix it through editing here. Just darker on the edges. Work my way out to my darkest color. And then back to my lightest. Sort of builds a lot of depth in that blue. And in the end you get a nice smooth transition of color. I did choose a different blue combination for the awnings on the door and the window. Then I was deciding what to do for the stripe, and I did choose to use that same blue combination to tie it together. Used yellows for my flowers, and then I did use the C's for the door and the window frame. I thought, since these campers are traditionally metal and I was coloring this one blue, I would bring that metal tones in on the accessories. I did do the window box in the darker blue combo that I did the body of the camper in, just darker right under the edge where the flowers hang over, and then filled it in with my medium tone. And I added yellow to the little reflector. For my tires, C10 is the darkest that I used. In the darkest places, C8, and then C4. And then I filled in the hubcap with C2. And then I did a little blue on the windows, just in the corners, B1, B00, or B01 and B00. And then I blended it out with B000. Just adds a little bit of life to the windows. They aren't just flat white. And then I started putting the card together. Oh, I forgot the little tongue of the camper, so I colored that quick. Just layering my pieces using liquid glue. And again, normally I use black for my layers, but I really found that this dark blue was really went well with the papers, so they definitely know what they're doing when they pick out that cardstock. You get a lot for your money with this kit. And those 3 pieces are like taped together, but then I adhered them down with some liquid adhesive and added the little camper. And this is the second card with the camper. And I colored everything off screen. And here I am layering up the card. That triangle paper was just so pretty to me. I thought this was a really neat way to have a scene where the circle was the background scene and then the camper kind of popped off the scene. You don't always have to stick inside that circle. And then I used, I think these are by Simon Says Stamp, these little sentiment strips just to cut my things out. And I used my Sidekick. This is the old Sidekick, but I bought new plates, and these are thicker than the clear plates that you used with the old like Thinlits dies, or I forget what they were called. But those plates work just fine. You don't have to buy a new Sidekick. The little red one works just fine. So I put a little foam tape on my sentiments. I thought that opposite the camper, they would equal out, even out the way it looked, I guess. This is the third card using this set here. And I completely screwed up. I pulled this off, and although I was able to re-adhere it, you can see like the bend marks in the cardstock because it's got that shiny finish. In the end, I don't think anybody's really gonna notice, but I notice, so figured I'd share that with you, that if you're gonna pull something off like that, be very careful. And this one just had the scene on the bottom, and then the camper kind of floating in outer space. Thought that was kind of fun. I added some gel pen details, and that was my third card. Oh, I went back and added some gel pen to the other cards too. That is a number 10 jelly roll pen, and it had dried out. And, well, I let it sit, and now it works again. So far we are at 9 cards. So my next 2 cards are with the boy and girl stamp set. They kind of look like they have backpacks on. They're very cute. And I did leave the Copic coloring in for these two for 2 reasons. How I color skin tones might be different than how you color them, and you might get a good or a different idea, different color combination. You see there I used a BV as my shadow. I did steal that idea from Sandy Allnock when she was doing the human rainbow stuff, and I really do like how that looks. And then it was just a traditional, I think E11, E00, E000. I used E02 for my cheeks. And then I did keep my colors the same as I had for all my other stuff. I didn't pull out any additional markers. I used whatever markers I had laying out on my desk because I knew they went with these papers really well. Oh, I did pull one additional marker out for her hair when we get to that. I think it was an E87. The other reason I left this Copic coloring in is, first of all, I love watching Copic coloring. But secondly, when I get to the little boy, his hair is my favorite hair I have ever colored in the history of all time. It just turned out so nice. So here I was keeping my colors really, the color combinations really tight. I didn't want to add any like additional colors. So she has the green shorts, the blue shirt, the brown backpack, the brown shoes, and here I brought that E87 in. And I did have to take the other end off because my marker was really juicy and I didn't want it to mess up my image at this point. And her hair's not bad when I color it, just his turns out so much better. I wish I would have done hers in the same color combination. I think I would have liked it more. But she's kind of got an ashy brown hair. So in him I did mixed it up, and I did the blue shorts because I did the green shorts with her, and I did a green shirt because I did the green shorts with her. I did the brown backpack, and I do like this combination for leather. It's E25 and I think E29. Yeah, made a really beautiful leather. It's got depth in it. It's only 2 markers. I use the same for their hiking boots. And then I did the skin the same way for him. Used the BV for the shadows, went over the shadows with the E11 to make them more of a skin tone. And then I used the E00 to blend that out, E02 for his cheeks, and then blended it all the way out with the E00. Here is the combination. It's Y17, and I just flicked it on, left a lot of white space, and then I used the E25, and I just flicked that on too, and I used the E29, and I made sure that I flicked from the crown of his head because that's how his haircut kind of looks, kind of messy, and it just turned out so good. I used a little gray to make his socks appear white, and then I put my cards together, And I was very much inspired by Christy with Christy Gets Crafty with her pattern paper play that she does all the time. She's so good at that. But these papers work really, really well together, so I used them all. I didn't use any like cardstock layers except for the yellow, which came in the kit. And these are laid out the same way, and you can see I swapped patterns between them, that buffalo check and the arrows. And I actually used that die upside down because I wanted the buffalo check instead of the chevron. The details are enough that you can't really tell that it's upside down. And then I was deciding how I was going to put the sentiment on. I decided to use a little white banner, and the first time I stamped it, it was smushy. So I did it again. And I cut them out and decided to lay that banner across. There's a lot of layering going on in this card. I really think it turned out well, though. I don't think it's too much. If I would have used another pattern, I think it would have been too much, but the little white banner worked out fine. And then I cut a slanted end on them. One goes up and one goes down, but they are pretty much the same. Added a little bit of gel pen detail to her hair and her shirt, backpack, and stuff like that. I did not add any gel pen detail to his hair because I just love his hair. The way it turned out was awesome. So this is my final card made with the extras, and I chose these dies here. The outer die that you see there, I did not end up using, but I just went through my cardstock that was left over, and I picked this chocolate brown, and I lined up my die, and I made sure that this fit that Explore die in it. I also needed to stamp this sign, and I just stamped it on some Nina cardstock with my ink on 3 ink. Stamped it a couple of times just to make sure I had a nice crisp image. It's a pretty fine line. And then I didn't need all that extra cardstock, so I just cut it off. I could have just stamped that like that, but at this point I didn't trust myself enough. So I did put it in my MISTI. I lined it up and I stamped it on that top wood board on that sign. So I left this coloring in too because this used to always impress me, was watching somebody color wood grain. I was always under the impression it was super hard, and it's not. It's just a bunch of squiggly lines, and I did it with the darkest color. Well, first I filled it in with my lightest color, and then I did squiggly lines in the darkest color, squiggly lines in my medium color, and then went over the whole thing with my lightest color again to blend it. And here I was just using the same greens I've been using the whole time to color in my grass. I die cut everything off screen, and I took that Explore die and I die cut it out of that brown cardstock 4 times out of my panel. And then I poked out all the insides of the letters and I made sure to keep them. And then I stuck all 4 down to a piece of post-it note sticky tape stuff. And I used this Distress Oxide, I think it's mowed lawn, to just, oh, there was Cooper's hand, to just put ink on the bottom of the words. Then I used some washi tape on the back of my panel here, just so when I inlaid this, it would stick down pretty easy. And I put them in, and they don't look all that fabulous yet, but once I put the little pieces in, it looks so much better. You really see the green, and it really makes you see the words instead of the white spaces. I must have got some adhesive on there or something. And there's this little teeny tiny piece in the O. I thought for sure I was going to lose at least one of them, but I didn't lose any of them. I had them all. I was kind of shocked. But the minute I opened this extras pack, I wanted to do something really cool with this Explore die, and this was one of the first ideas I had, and I love how it ended up turning out. So there, I basically just made pattern paper. I fussy cut this signpost off screen, added some foam tape to pop it up. My foam tape is running out. I'm going to try some foam tape I got from Amazon next. We'll see how long it lasts. And then I took a piece of brown plaid and I cut that down and I added my panel to it, and that was that card. So there'll be pictures here at the end of all the cards. I absolutely appreciate you stopping by today. I would love to know what your favorite card was. If you prefer colored pencil coloring over Copic coloring, if you prefer the coloring to be in the video, if you prefer music over my voice talking to you. I would love it if you would subscribe, talk to me in the comments, give me a thumbs up, share my video. I am learning and trying new things, and I appreciate everyone who is watching. So we're almost to the end here, and thank you so much, and I appreciate you.